John, I know you're just very broken up today. You're gonna be all right?
I don't know if I can even talk. It's maddening that the governing body of soccer is corrupt. It's just, what are you going to tell me
and
next?
Surprising and shocking, right?
You're going to tell me, I suppose, that Barry Bonds and Mark McGuire were on steroids? I mean, come on. This is just earth-shattering news, and can't believe FIFA is corrupt.
Have they called you yet?
They have not called.
About your bribes?
No, they have not. And I tried to get the 2018 World Cup to be played in Hanover, and I couldn't get a committee together.
Well, when you're going up against money from
Russia
Qatar and
is
Russia,
it Qatar or Qatar?
Qatar, I guess.
Is Qatar? Okay. Qatar. I thought a Q always had to have a U after it. Evidently not.
Sometimes there's just no rules.
Okay, all right.
But apparently there are against bribery once
there
somebody
is.
decides
No bribing
they're
in
actually going to take a look in it.
In the soccer world, no.
Probably not going to get into a whole lot of soccer because this is 2 weeks in a row that you've brought it up, and that's just weird.
That is weird.
You're all right?
I'm a little feverish, but I think I got the WIAA postseason fever, so I'm ready to go.
We could talk a little about that, and maybe we got the NBA finals that aren't necessarily completely finalized as we.
They will be after tonight's filming, yes.
And
let's just beat on the Brewers some more.
Why not? It's been 2 weeks, I think, since we've done it. So
let's get on their case.
All right, we'll talk about that and more. That's all coming up on the Xtra Points show this week. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Xtra Points. It's the Gazette Extra show that you might find on YouTube or iTunes or
Facebook. I'm pushing Facebook now. Yes.
I've seen it on there a time or two.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Sports writer John Barry over there. I'm Eric Schmaltz. We get together every week to talk about local and state sports, and sometimes we go to the national level. And why don't we just start right there this week?
Let's go national. Why not?
NBA Finals, as we sit here and film this, not quite wrapped up yet. Golden State has to finish off
the Rockets.
A 3-1 series
James
lead.
Harden.
But they were up 3-0. Nobody ever loses a 3-0 series, so we're just going to assume it's Golden State and Steph Curry and the Splash Brothers against LeBron
Magic Johnson
James.
LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavs. Interesting because I think it's what most people thought would probably be the case. I know when we discussed it earlier, I kind of like the Bulls, and again, I'm wrong. So what else is new? But when you look at it, obviously two superstars, probably the two best players in the game. Certainly LeBron's the best player on the planet. I don't think there's any question about that. And certainly Steph Curry, named the MVP
this year,
deserved to be the MVP. And so it showcases, I think, the two marquee players right now in the NBA. I think the edge has to go to Golden State simply because his supporting cast is, I think, a little better than LeBron. LeBron's doing it all on his own. He's got help, but obviously, the ball's in his hands. He's getting rebounds. He's assisting. He's scoring. He's magic when Kareem got hurt. He's doing the same type of thing for his team, and he's carrying them right now. And this is his fifth straight NBA Finals, 4 with the Heat and now 1 with Cleveland. And I would never bet against LeBron.
Exactly. I don't know how you could. I know he's lost a couple times, but he's gone up against a group that doesn't have any experience with it. I know he brings a bunch of guys that don't have a ton of experience there either, but I can't find myself betting against him. I think he finds a way to just get it done. Like he kind of has the first couple series here. I know Kevin Love after the first couple of games of the playoffs. Kyrie Irving's been in and out, and what percentage he's at, we have no idea. But he finds a way, and I think I'll probably end up picking the Cavs.
And I think I'd probably go with Golden State simply because they're playing at home, and they've been so good at home this year, and they'll have the home court advantage. It's a little different plane ride than getting in a plane from going to Cleveland to Atlanta than going to Cleveland out to Oakland. So, the things are going to wear and tear on them, but I just think Golden State is just – the chemistry on that team is really solid, and they're playing so well right now with Draymond Green and Bogut. And
who would have thought Andrew Bogut actually alive
in the middle of
still
NBA
in the playoffs.
Finals. And then that's great. Because Bogut, he never dissed Milwaukee. He didn't fit in, and I think he's fit in great with Golden State. So, again, I would pick Golden State because they're the home team, but I agree with you. I would have trouble betting against LeBron. So if I were going to make a wager on the series, I'd pick Golden State, but I wouldn't bet a lot of money on it.
Maybe
put
you
it
just
that way.
maybe you just bet that it goes
Six or seven games,
yeah,
which I
least
think
six,
it will.
Yeah.
I would be surprised if it didn't go at least 6.
It's kind of weird for me. Not an NBA guy. I don't watch much, definitely in the regular season. Sometimes I watch more in the playoffs, kind of depending. And I think I'll find myself watching as much of this series as I can because, like you said before, 2 of the best superstars in the game right now. That's intriguing, and I don't know a ton about the supporting cast, and I'm probably learn more as the series goes along. But just knowing that it's those 2 going up against each other, so to speak. I mean, they're not going to be guarding each other or anything like that. I wouldn't imagine.
No, I mean unless there's a switch up or something. But
Yeah.
I would agree with you. I mean, I would watch Steph Curry dribble a basketball. I mean, he's that entertaining because his ability to get off shots when there really looks like there isn't one is pretty amazing, and he's usually spot on. I mean, he doesn't have a bad shot in his repertoire because he'll take an off-balance jumper from the corner, and you're thinking that's a terrible shot, and it's nothing but net. And LeBron's just get him the ball, get out of the way. He gets to the paint and either scores or he gets fouled. And, that's what great players do. And they were talking today on a show I was listening to about comparing him to Michael Jordan. I'm not ready to go there. They're 2 different players. I mean, Michael's still, in my book, the greatest ever, but LeBron certainly sits at the same table as Michael does.
And if he keeps getting to finals and winning them, it's going to become more and more of an argument.
Yep.
I think I'm taking Cavs in 6 because
Okay.
I think I'm kind of this point. I wasn't a huge Michael guy growing up, so I'm kind of rooting for LeBron to get himself further and further into that discussion. And I think doing it the first year back in Cleveland, giving Cleveland a championship, if he could win it at Game 6 or something at home, that would make it even sweeter.
Yep.
And really just kind of set the table for a couple more years moving forward. For this could become a rivalry. These 2 teams could.
And I'll take the Warriors in 7.
Yeah.
All right.
Get themselves back home and get it done there.
Yep.
It could come down to whoever gets the first chance to win the series at home. It really could, I think. If the Cavs find a way to have a chance to win it in Game 6, I think it's going to be hard for them to lose at home. But
I would agree.
If it goes back to the Warriors in Game 7, then that's going to make it difficult as well.
Usually in Game 7, the home team is probably 75% of the time is going to come out of there with a win.
Any chance you see where the MVP of the finals isn't LeBron or Steph Curry, depending on who wins?
On the Cavs, no. I don't think there's anybody else. If Irvin was completely healthy, maybe. But as far as Golden State, as Klay Thompson gets in one of his ridiculous zones where he doesn't miss, possibly. But Curry's been so consistent and so solid, and I'd be shocked if it wasn't one of those 2 as the MVP.
I would also be shocked if the Rockets came back and won. That would really disrupt what we
that
just talked about.
Then
for the
you
last,
could turn off
5
this
to 7
video
minutes.
right now if you're watching it on Thursday or Friday because we don't know what we're talking about.
Well, that's a safe.
That's not going to happen.
It's a safe bet.
It's not going to happen. No.
Let's stick in the pros and talk about the Brewers.
Gosh.
It's just we had hoped. I think the last time we talked was kind of a week or 10 days into Craig Counsell's tenure, and we had maybe mustered some semblance of hope. And I think that's all kind of gone out the window again. They're the same team with a different guy.
I got one question for you, and I know, I think you're probably a little closer with following the Brewers than I am, but answer me this. Who's their hottest hitter right now? Ryan Braun, okay? So Saturday's game, good crowd. Braun's not in the lineup. Why? Why do you sit your hottest player? Don't tell me he needs a day off. He doesn't need a day off. He's making $1 gazillion a year. Get his butt on the lineup card and play. He needed a day off. Well, why does he need a day off? He had the whole year off last year to sit on his butt with a suspension. He doesn't need a day off. Put your best player in the lineup and play him. Fans pay to see that. And if I would have been there Saturday night, I'd have been ticked that Braun wasn't playing. He's hot. He's, kind of carrying that team right now, and he wasn't there. And that just kind of, in a nutshell, tells you exactly what's going on with the Brewers. They are bipolar. You can't figure them out.
Was it Saturday or Sunday?
I don't know which day it was, but one of those days I looked.
A lot of times they give day games
Braun
off.
didn't play, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, why isn't he? He's not a catcher. I mean, he's an outfielder. So he's got to throw the ball in the infield twice a game. I mean, big deal. But, they're just so helter-skelter and so up and down. And, Counsell comes in. They start out well. Now they've lost 4 in a row. The pitching's good for 4 or 5 innings, and that blows up. They can't put any runs together. They score 11 runs against the Mets that game, and then they don't score the rest of the series. It's just same with Atlanta. You have one big output, and then 2 or 3 poor ones. And if
score as many runs in one game.
If you're going to play
333
baseball, 333 baseball, you're not going anywhere.
It's well, they always say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results.
Exactly.
Right? The Brewers are the last team, and this is finally going to end on Monday. The last team to use more than 5 starting pitchers this season. They've used the same 5 in the rotation the entire year, and for the first 2 months, we've got the exact same thing every time. Where maybe one of them has a decent outing here or there, but none of them finds any sort of consistency.
Garza's act is old. I'm sorry. No offense to Matt Garza, but his act is old, and he's not a number 2 pitcher on any team. If you want to use him as a spot starter, that's where he'd be best. And obviously, he's going to stay in the rotation with Peralta out with an oblique injury, which 20 years ago, you didn't even know what oblique was. I mean, nobody ever had an oblique injury. Now all of a sudden, guys are dropping like flies with oblique injuries, and they said it could be 6 to 8 weeks, which that means you got to dip into your AAA affiliate that doesn't have a lot of quality starting pitchers, so you're going to be piecemealing, a rotation. Fire's pitched on Wednesday today, the day that we're filming this, on 3 days rest. They were losing again as we were filming this, so I mean it's a struggle, and I just don't see I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel.
Well, and some people are saying, well, time to blow it up and trade people away, and it's like, who do they have that's even performing well enough that anybody would want that they could trade anything away for more than
and who's the one guy?
Hot dog
who's
buns?
The one guy on that team that teams covet? Gomez. And who's the one guy you don't want to trade is Gomez. I mean, Braun's not going anywhere with his contract. Lucroy, the Brewers got him, he's signed right now for a pretty valuable and a reasonable contract, so they don't want to get rid of him. Gomez would be the one guy that teams are going to covet because they'd love to have him in their leadoff spot or hitting 3rd or 4th, and he's the one guy I don't want to see go. The rest of them, maybe Segura as well is another one, but I think right now, other than probably Peralta and Jimmy Nelson, I'm not sure anybody's hands off. I think anyone, if Melvin gets the right, deal or trade, I think you could see a lot of guys go.
I would think they would trade Aramis at some point, even if it's for a sack of wiffle balls, because this is his last year anyway, so might as well.
And Adam Lind, as well as he started off, he's hitting rock bottom again. So, I mean, there's nobody producing in that lineup. I mean, it's Herrera and Gomez and Sardinas, or what's his name?
Yeah, Sardinas.
I mean, good guys, but they're not major league players right now. I mean, and they know that. And, Jeanette's down at AAA, and Segura and Lucroy are on the shelf. And again, we keep talking about when they get these guys back, is that going to make a difference? I don't think it's going to, because of their pitching.
Some of them have come back, and they've just gone away again.
Exactly.
I don't think Jonathan. I like Jonathan Lucroy a lot, but I think you get him back, that's going to turn your season around. I don't really see it.
Loesch is Loesch. Loesch is what he is. He's a 500 pitcher at best. He gives you 4 or 5 good innings. He seems to have 1 or 2 pitches he makes a game that are bad that get taken out of the park. And so when Loesch scores, you're going to have to score 3 or 4 runs a game. And the Brewers aren't doing that right now. They're
I guess
scoring
what do you
runs.
do? What would you like to see done?
Well, I guess more than anything, you can't. Can you start from scratch? No. They have the 17th or 16th pick in the upcoming draft, and you look at somebody like Theo Epstein that took Boston and basically built from scratch up and got that team to the World Series and won a couple, doing the same thing with the Cubs, but the Brewers don't have that farm system. Their farm system is depleted, and they don't have that. So I guess it would start with maybe you package a couple of guys, get some younger guys that you think have some potential to play in the pros, but are probably a couple years away. And this year, short of packing it in, then it comes down to, can you afford to not have fans come to Miller Park? And I don't think they can do that right now. I mean, if you want to pay the salary, you've got to have money in your coffers to be able to do that. And the Brewers, if fans aren't trickling into Miller Park, they're not going to have the money to do that. It's tough, and I'm not sure what the answer is.
Yeah, I think we said it before, but I would think Doug Melvin's seat's got to be pretty hot because,
it has to be.
Not only is this team not performing, but like we just said, there's not really a farm system that's built up, and that falls on him too. Right. So it's kind of a mess.
It is a mess, and it's one that
what their strategy is.
Like I say,
forward.
I think it's going to get uglier before it gets better. I think as bad as they're playing, they may not have hit rock bottom because eventually, like you said, there's just nowhere to look. I mean, and it's got to get frustrating. It's got to get frustrating for the veterans on that team that, guys like Ramirez and Braun and even Loesch, guys that have been in the league long enough that, are used to winning, and they're not winning.
Messy. We'll just have to keep an eye on it.
Keep an eye on them. But don't give up on them, fans. Keep going to Miller Park and support them, or, we don't want it to revert back to the old days where they were 15,000 people there and nobody cared, and they ended up moving on out of here and heading to Seattle. So,
well, we finally got the high school WIAA postseason started this week.
We did.
It was
despite
a bit messy. Yeah,
it was messy.
Rain Tuesday, wind, things kind of got reshuffled in terms of the schedule, but they're getting their stuff in, and the excitement started right away.
Yeah, it does, and it tells you how fickle it is when you look at a couple of individuals or a couple of things that pop out is just how you just never know. We've talked all year about Ian Reineke, the senior jumper at Craig, who has placed at state in back-to-back years and just has not been able to get healthy all year, and competed at the Stoughton Regional on Tuesday, but was only able to compete in triple jump, and I think he said he jumped once, made it onto sectionals, and couldn't even compete in the long jump. So, I mean, and then the Craig boys, their 4x100 relay team, which I think had the fastest qualifying time coming in. Second fastest, drops a baton. Something you work on ad nauseum to try to, so it's just like, riding a bike. I mean, it's just something you don't forget, and you drop a baton at the worst possible time at the regional meet, and you're done. I mean, and that's it, and that just, like I say, you just never know once you get into the postseason what can happen, and especially in a one-game thing where one good pitcher beats one good team, and you just don't know sometimes, and that's why you kind of look at things in perspective and realize that it's that time, and sometimes it's better to be lucky than good.
Well, also with the Parker boys, they were pretty much had a regional title in their grasp, and
their state-ranked 4x4 team just
kind of had an off night. Finished second. If they would have finished first, they would have won by a point.
And you don't know, because I've been in enough track meets to know that coaches say, "Hey, just get through." If you're running the 200, and you don't have to win it. But if you know you're going to be in the top four, just ease up at the end. You don't need to go all out, and kids will do that. Now, maybe, Coach Shue told those four kids, hey, look, just get through to Friday or Thursday, and we'll worry about it. And, as it was, they lost the team title by 1 point to Oregon and were 10 seconds below their seed time. So.
Which, I mean, at the end of the day, you lose out on a regional title.
It's a big deal.
You're not going to probably remember that. It just goes to show.
Let's put it this way. The Parker boys track and field trophy case is plumb full as it is. They don't need a lot more trophies in their trophy case.
The other part I thought was funny was they had to go all the way down to the thousandths of a second for the 200, and DJ Vance loses by 7 thousandths of a second. That would have been 2 points there. Yep. They would have won. So
and all that
kind of crazy. And all that does for DJ is like on Friday. Then instead of starting in lane 4, depending on what happens today at the other one, he'll start in lane 5. Which, again, shouldn't be a big deal. But, a false start, a drop baton, a misqualifying or a misstep in long jump, or, going out of the circle in discus. There's so many things that can happen that you've worked on all year, and then all of a sudden you get to that one meet and things just don't click, and the next thing you know, you're out of it. Yeah, or even on a diamond, like you said, you run into a pitcher that you haven't seen this year, and they've got a junk pitch that's working that day,
and they beat you 2-1 or something, and all of a sudden your season that was so great, let's face it, what do you remember? You remember that postseason loss when your hopes were so high to get to state and you don't get there.
Sports can be that way sometimes.
They can be.
If you're on the other side, that's a fun moment.
It's a fun time, and that's why I say that's why they play the games. Games aren't decided on paper. That's the oldest saying in the book, but it's true. I mean, records are thrown out. It doesn't matter. If you're 20-1 or 1-20, I mean, look at the Craig boys basketball team this year in their regional when they upset, what was it, 3rd or 4th ranked Muskego, and so you just never know. And a lot of times, that's what makes it so much fun. That's why it's fun to cover, and that's why this time of the year, I think more than anything in the spring, just because there's so many sports and so much going on, that this is probably, for me, the funnest time of the year.
It's busy, and it's going to go pretty fast.
Yep.
I mean, we got track sectionals down on Friday at Monterey. Stop down there if you get a chance. It'll be a fun and busy afternoon.
Unbelievable talent, trust me.
just like that, we'll know state qualifiers by the weekend. So a lot of this stuff is going to go
and
real
we could
fast.
see Delavan Turner softball, which we've been harping on all spring, that could take place on Friday as well. So, you're bored Friday afternoon. Check the Gazette on Thursday because there's plenty of things you can go watch and plenty of great talent you can watch in a number of different sports.
Yep, should be fun.
Yep.
And just a fun couple of weeks here too with baseball starting up next week. So
That's right.
we'll keep you informed as those things roll along, and we'll be back here talk about it all next week. Let us know what you think of the show. You can leave us a review on YouTube or iTunes. Find us on Twitter or email us at sports@gazetteextra.com. Thanks to producer Andrew Ryder and Kevin McLeod for the tunes, and we'll see you all right back in these chairs about a week or so from now.
Bad FIFA. Bad.
Get it together.
Get it together, FIFA.